Hello everybody, welcome back to the stream. How are you doing? Yeah, so today we're just going to be working on stuff. So I promised that the playtest would be out this month, by the end of this month, so that means that either the 30th or the 31st, there are 31 days in January, right? Yeah, okay. So either the 30th or the 31st, and so that means that if I release it on the 31st, I basically have a week left to get the playtest out. And I still have a bunch of stuff that I want to do, including my own internal playtests to make sure that the balance is still good. But there are plenty of quality of life things to do. I still have plenty of sound effects to add as well. So for instance, let's see. I want to add a sound effect for Legendary Alchemy, revisit the alchemy sounds generally, make them sound a little bit chunkier, add some more impact to the alchemy process. Some sound effects for shield and healing, and then some ambience that I want to add as well. And we've got these other things in the to-do list. So yeah, anyway, there's lots to do, and I've got a week to do it. But before I get into it, I want to remind everyone that Alchemortis is available for wishlisting on Steam. Definitely check that out if you like roguelite strategy games. It's a inventory management auto battler with a dark fantasy theme. So I hope you will wishlist that. I hope you are intrigued by that. And if you want to support me or the game on Patreon, you could do so. The top tier here for the sponsor tier, one of the perks is I will send you an Alchemortis Steam key when the game launches. So this is like a pre-purchase of the game. Additionally, with the playtest coming out in a week, if you are an active subscriber of the Patreon by the time the playtest rolls around on the 31st, you will get early access to the playtest. And you can also subscribe to Patreon any time during the early access period, and a Steam key for the playtest will be automatically emailed to you. So Patreon members will get 1 week of early access to the playtest, and then the playtest will be available to everyone for a week after that. So there's no FOMO here. I'm not trying to do any sort of FOMO thing. If you like Alchemortis, if you're interested in Alchemortis, you will absolutely have a chance to play the playtests. You will also have a chance to play the demo when the demos come out. But this is just a nice extra perk for the Patreon subscribers, so definitely check that out. And there's some other perks here too, like this sponsor tier also gives you unlimited access to all of my course content for as long as you're subscribed. So if you've been interested in taking my courses, it may be cheaper to just subscribe to the Patreon for 1 month. Not only will you get an Alchemortis Steam key, but you can also go through those courses and save some money potentially compared to buying them all individually on Udemy. But if you're only interested in one course, you could check them out on Udemy. Udemy also runs sales all the time, so yeah, keep an eye on those, pick those up. Anyway, we've done enough ads. There's also the Discord linked in the description below, so check that out if you're interested. All right, let's go. Hello, Ito Makes Games. Welcome back. Good to see you as always. Dusty, welcome. Good to see you as well. How have you been, Dusty? I think the VSync bug is something with my new monitor. The stuttering happened too when I tried Geometry Dash. Oh, yeah. I remember you talking about that, yeah. Hello, Ataxic. Hello, Clickertail. Welcome. Bomb That Implodes, welcome back. Hello, King Burger. Welcome back. Good to see you again. How many wishlist do you have right now? Not enough. I think I have 1,700. Which is decent. It's decent for the relatively little amount of low effort marketing I've done. So, 1,700, almost 2,000, but that number needs to be much, much higher. So I'm in active talks right now with several different people who could potentially help me with that, with the marketing. But the plan with Alchemortis is that I think that the game is solid, and I think the marketing is going to be a make or break for the game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the game. Even if the game is finished, I'm not going to release the game until I see some marketing success. So until the wishlist count goes up. So I may actually end up sitting on the game for several months, even if it's finished, to kind of work out the marketing and try to get wishlist traffic and stuff like that. So that's going to be the make or break part of the game, I think. So I have to be very, very careful about how I approach the marketing. Anyway, We'll see. What were your favorite reviews, comments of previous game tests? Well, I love all the comments. I think, obviously, the comments that say, hey, I played for 5 hours are, like, amazing, because I didn't think the playtest was that... Like, I didn't think it would be that engaging. I didn't think people would look at the playtest with its unpolished lack of quality of life, lack of content, and, you know, unbalanced nature and play that for 5 hours. So... obviously, I love those comments because they indicated that there's actually something very engaging with the game. And then I just love the comments of people sharing their builds, like, oh, look at this crazy poison build I got, or I created this maggot that has, like, all these abilities on it, and it's 4 turns, you know? Those are, because those things are just reflecting that people are having fun with the game, right? And of course, I like the comments that are very constructive, the comments that offer me quality of life feedback or feedback on the gameplay. I like all of them. I like all of them. The only comment that I wouldn't like is if you just came into the comment section and said, this game is garbage, and then that's it. I would not particularly enjoy that one, but all the rest of them are good. Hello, Rec. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see you again. That's very, I'm not good at marketing, but I think making random shorts about the game could help. Yeah. Well, I've talked to a couple people about, like, a potential marketing strategy, and I've gotten mixed opinions on it. Some people said, hey, Alchemortis has a very distinct visual style, which is going to, like, help with marketing. And then on the flip side, some people have said, well, there's not a lot of visual variety in Alchemortis, so that's going to make marketing difficult. And I'm like, okay. So... and these are people who are experts, who are, like, in the know about how to market games, and I'm getting, like, opinions on all ends of the spectrum about the marketing of the game. So I don't know what to make of that. I don't know what to make of that. I think Instagram is the best way to gain traction. I might have to create an Instagram account. Marketing is hard. I've run Google Ads before for something I did, not related to game dev, and it was a complete flop. Yeah, so one person I talked to said with games in particular, that you want to do organic marketing as much as possible. Like, you just want to get your game into the hands of streamers and YouTubers and have them play your game. And then you want to utilize, you know, the Steam features like the Next Fest and stuff like that. But, you know, I asked this person, I was like, do you pay for influencers to play games? Do you offer monetary incentives? And they said no, because what we want is we want to target people who actually enjoy the type of game that you're offering. And we want them to visibly have fun on the video while they're playing it. And just paying somebody to do, like, a half-butt playthrough of your game is not going to get viewers excited about it, right? So this person at least focused entirely just on the organic marketing side of just, like, cold outreach to influencers and streamers, and getting them to play the game as a primary marketing vehicle. So... I'm just relaying the information that I gave you. This is somebody that is in the games industry, so, you know, I would probably take what they're saying with some authority. But again, like, I'm just relaying to you what I understood from the conversation, so hopefully that's helpful information. Organic growth is way better, yeah. Hello, Wooius. Just make shorts for every platform and make them engaging. Yeah, just make an engaging short. That's all you gotta do. Which is actually really hard to do. At least for me. It's really hard for me to, like, step into the mind of a viewer who would be engaged by a YouTube short, because I hate YouTube shorts. I hate them. Like, they are so unbelievably off-putting to me. Anyway. Hello, Emerson. Good morning. Wait, that sounded so passive-aggressive for some reason. Yeah, no, I got you. Like... I know you're just, I know you're trying to be helpful for sure. First weekend stream I've catched in a while. Welcome to Dollite. Welcome, welcome. Welcome back, I should say. I'm using a 7-color palette, and I'm trying to make distinct visual style by swapping tiles and background main colors. I can make 3 combinations with it, which is also planned area count. That is an interesting way of making use of a limited color palette, where you switch the colors that you're using for the background and foreground elements. Yeah, that is a very good idea. As an amateur, my opinion is that your capsule needs more red, or at the very least, and maybe at the very least, maybe a moon just like on your menu screen. Oh. Yeah, so the problem, so I could just take this menu screen and just like screenshot that. The problem is that I want to emphasize the alchemy. Maybe I don't need to though. Yeah, I think there's definitely, like, I threw those Steam capsules together months ago when the game was in a much earlier state, so I definitely need to revisit the Steam capsules for sure, especially before I start leveraging the Steam features for marketing, like the Next Fest, right? But I'm hoping, like right now, I'm just trying to drive people directly to the page. I'm not trying to get organic Steam traffic just from like the browsing, people browsing the games. So that's why I focused on the trailer after I did the Steam page. So now when people click on my Steam page because they're like, oh, what's this game about? The trailer will show immediately, and hopefully that's enough for now. But yeah, I want to do the Steam capsules. I want to redo them, rather. But yeah, I think that's a good suggestion, Light Tiramisu, and welcome back. You should try sending the demo to Splattercat. I consume a lot of his content, and I guess Alchemortis is something he would try. No idea if it charges for that apart from sponsors. I can't remember. Did Splattercat try Gunforged? Some big YouTuber tried Gunforged. Maybe it wasn't Splattercat Gaming. It was somebody else. I should have bookmarked this. Oh, Retromation. Retromation is the guy that played Gunforged. Okay, it wasn't Splattercat. Anyway, that was, the Gunforged marketing was just so unfortunate because, number one, I didn't know that I couldn't participate in multiple Steam Next Fests, so I released the game in Next Fest way too early, and then it didn't come out for like a year and a half. And like, the game wasn't really finished when I put it in Next Fest, and a bunch of YouTubers like decided to play that game for their channel, and it's like, yeah, that was a fail. I didn't know that YouTubers were gonna go. I guess I should have anticipated it, but this is part of the learning process. I didn't know that YouTubers were gonna go through the Next Fest and play all the demos for this big Steam event. I didn't know that YouTubers were gonna do that. In hindsight, it should have been obvious, but oh well. You live and you learn. Just look at your menu and capsule, and the former is infinitely more appealing. Yeah, I agree. Color palette has shades of green, yellow, and blue, so my game is going to have fortress, plains, and desert area. Very nice. How to do it is you make them have to wait for the contents of your actual game so engagement goes up, sync to some music. Can't do it without that, and a voiceover like, "Hi, I'm a small game dev. Please support my game. It's called Alchemortis." And it's a description of the game. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Hello, Shirley. Good morning. Thank you for the $10. My wife is sending me money on my stream. Isn't that amazing, everybody? Hello, Shirley. Welcome. Oh yeah, I already said a bomb that implodes was replying to. Shirley. I think Alexa could play it. Yeah, I've got a couple of people in mind, but again, I don't want to do that until the game is ready. I got your multiplayer course last night. I'm finding it really fun. Maybe I know programming more than I give myself credit for, and I'm finding it easy to follow. Awesome. Thanks for doing that. Appreciate that. All right. That $10 is going straight into my McDonald's fund, by the way. Do I need to have the game name and basic art for the Steam page to be able to pay the Steam fee? I need to pay per game, right? Yeah, you can pay at any time. Because what the Steam fee does is it gives you a credit to create basically an app on Steam. So you pay the $100 fee, and then you have all the tools available to release one app. So that means that you can create a Steam page for that app. Okay, we'll just say game, but you can release tools on Steam too. But so you can pay a $100 Steam fee. That gives you all the Steamworks settings. That gives you all the store page settings for that one application. That's the technical term that Steam calls it. It's an application. So anything related to that application becomes unlocked after you pay that Steam fee. And then you can add the store page assets at any time. You don't have to publish the store page after paying the fee. You could just pay the fee and sit on it for months and just like kind of, you know, tinker with stuff. So the store page won't go live, and actually Steam doesn't let you publish the store page until you meet a certain set of criteria on their checklist. So yeah, you definitely have to do work. So you could pay the fee at any time and just like not do anything with that for years, and then come back to it later and like have that available to you to publish a game through. You don't need the name, and you don't need any of the assets for sure. I think Gunforge is very played by a variety YouTubers category. Yeah, I just failed the marketing so hard at Gunforge, but that was a learning experience. So anyway, procrastination is over. I actually made some changes to the card draggings. I fixed a bunch of issues related to animations and whatnot. Maybe I'll share this with you, but so I changed the drag point for these oddly shaped cards. So previously, if you remember, if I were to drag this tapeworm here, my mouse would be kind of like hovering. My mouse would be hovering like over here, like if you imagine the 3x3 bounding box of this card, my mouse would be in the center of that bounding box when I tried to drag it. So my mouse was just like disconnected from the card. So I added a function that gets the center of mass of a card, which is basically just an average of all the cell positions. And then I also manually defined additional offsets here in my card registry. So these keys here are lists of vector 2s, and those are all the occupied cells, and then I associate that with additional offset. So now any card that is shaped like the rat, for instance, will always have an offset such that the mouse cursor will end up in the bottom right cell, the middle of the bottom right cell. So that feels much nicer, I think. You know, it is a little bit weird to have this tapeworm here and I grab it up here and then it snaps, you know, to the bottom left corner. But that is much preferable to the mouse like floating out here somewhere. So I fixed that, and that actually ended up being a little bit less risky than I thought it was going to be. So I'm glad I got that done. And then I fixed a bunch of bugs related to tweens. So one problem with tweens is that if you have some kind of cleanup code on the tween, I'm trying to think, card mouse events manager, no. So if you have some kind of cleanup for the tween, so for example, when I call play drop animation on card, I'm adding a drag lock to the card, and I am disabling the card mouse areas. And then previously what I was doing is after the tween was finished, I was removing the drag lock and enabling the mouse areas. Now the problem is that if this tween, this position root tween, ever got interrupted by some other thing, like any other of these animations that I might want to play, it would kill that tween before it would do its cleanup function. And that would leave the locks in place, which would basically soft lock the card. So what I did is I created this cleanup tween, which basically is just a wrapper class around a tween that will either listen for the tween finished signal or exposes a public method called kill, which will kill the actively running tween and then run the cleanup code. And then the cleanup code is just an action that I'm passing in. So anyway, I've been replacing various instances of tweens with this cleanup tween now, so that I can be guaranteed that whether the tween is killed or whether it finishes, it's always going to execute this cleanup code. And that fixed a number of issues across the game, a number of like edge cases where cards could get soft locked. So anyway, I don't know why I shared that with you. I think I'm just putting it out there as an idea for you that you can also do if you need to have cleanup behavior when a tween is either killed or finishes. So that's just a little tip for you. And then what else? I think that's basically it. Okay, enough chit-chatting. Let's fix some issues. If dragging a combat reward card on the edge, it triggers a dim even after it starts dragging. Let's do this. Oh, also, do I still have... Oh, my music and sound effects are on. Oops, sorry. Oh, that's cool. Thanks. Yeah, you're welcome. Does Steam use your account name for a published game, or do they ask what your dev and publisher name will be? Because my account name is from 2011 and I don't want to embarrass myself. That is a good question. I think, don't take my word for it, but I think that you can set your developer name and your publisher name separate from what your Steam account name is. I think that's the case, but I would encourage you to double check that before you go and pay the fee. What if you have a card that's donut shaped? I didn't think about that. I think in the case of a donut shaped card, it would be fine for the mouse to be in the middle, in like the hole, because I don't really know where else I would put the mouse that would feel natural. So I think that would be okay. The donut shape could be fun. Yeah, Ouroboros. Ouroboros. I mean, would the center of the mass be in the, would the center of the mass be in the hole? Yeah, it would. Does VS have an outline view? Yes. There's an outline view here. Hello, Dione. Welcome. Would you recommend just make a separate account for publishing games then? I didn't make a separate account. It's just under my main Steam account. So maybe it's a good idea. I don't know. The way that's when you go to put a game on Steam, you have to fill out all your tax information, and you got to fill out like what company like owns the IP, if you have a company or if you're a sole proprietor. So I don't really think the Steam account matters so much, because you have to fill in a bunch of extra information regarding, like, you know, who the publisher is and where the payments go and who owns the IP, or like, you know, where the money is actually going. It's not necessarily who owns the IP, it's more like tax information about where the payments are going to what individual or to what company, etc. So I'm not sure if the Steam account really matters all that much. The only question, yeah, would be like, does it use your Steam account name for the developer name? I don't think so. I mean, maybe I could check it right now. Let's see. Yeah, so I'm looking at it right now. You can, it's a free-form field, so the developers and the publishers are they're fields that you can add, or that you have to add to your store page, and they're just free-form text fields. So you can put whatever text you want in there. It doesn't automatically like set that as your Steam account name. So yeah, you should be good. You should be good. Okay, anyway, we are almost 30 minutes into the stream and I haven't done anything. If dragging a combat reward card on the edge, it triggers a dim even after it starts dragging. Okay, so this issue, I'll show you. Actually, this will be easier to test if I do this. I did mute the sound effects, right? Yeah. So this issue is going to be a little bit tricky. I don't know, maybe it won't be super tricky, but... So if I do this, and I start dragging, so if I put my mouse on the left edge of this card, and I start dragging, I can hover over the Amanita muscaria before the drag actually starts. And what that does is that leaves these cards highlighted and this card that I'm dragging dimmed. So that's just a little bit annoying. I mean, it's not a big deal, but it's something that I want to fix. Now, the reason why that happens is because there's actually a little bit of a grace period for the drag. So the drag does not actually take effect until the mouse has moved like 4 pixels or something like that. And the reason is because, you know, if I'm just clicking on a card, I don't want that to trigger a drag immediately. I want to make sure that the user is actually doing a drag operation, right? So it detects that the mouse is down, and as long as the mouse is down and it has moved at least 4 pixels, that's when it starts to drag. But if I hold the mouse down and move it just a couple pixels and then I release, that's just like a normal click. So that will help in cases where like maybe you're kind of moving the mouse a little bit. It's not perfectly still when you click on it. It's just one of those like game feel things that makes dragging feel a little bit nicer, but then I have to worry about the mouse hover event triggering. Now I think I can still let that mouse hover event trigger. It's just that when the drag operation starts, I need to somehow like undim the card and dim these other ones. So I think what I can do, maybe I'll just fix this in a sort of roundabout way. So I think what I can do, card dimmer component enable. Okay, so there's a card dimmer component. That's cool. That's cool. Connect signals, card mouse events manager connect, callable mouse entered, callable drag began, callable drag ended. Okay, so maybe this will actually be easier. So we have the callable drag began, on card drag began, dragon card base card. If dragon card equals null or get cards on board contain dragon card return. Dim card selection in. Dim out. Border mask texture. Border mask kill valid. Enable back buffer. Tween action disable back buffer. Okay, I actually want to change this, I think. Let me make this little minor change. Clean up tween. Okay. Shader tween dot kill. Shader tween is equal to cleanup tween dot create this, and then the action is going to be disable back buffer, I think. Wait a minute. Oh no. It's null here. Get rid of this. Shader tween dot tween. Dot tween. Okay, shader tween kill. Shader tween is equal to cleanup tween dot create. Disable back buffer. Okay, dot tween. Oh, I don't need that anymore. Okay. Shader tween dot kill. This needs to be disable back buffer. I'm just cleaning this up. I don't think there's an error here, but it's safer to use that cleanup tween that I created. So I'm not sure if this is going to make a difference in terms of what we're trying to fix right now, but doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. Okay. So dim out is what? Fade shader progress to 0, and dim in is to 0.5. Okay. So we have the card dimmer component. Dim card selection in. We're going to dim out the hovered card. Hovered card equals dragging card. Dim card selection in. Maybe that will fix it. Probably not, but we'll see. Hello, Bubblegum Lord. Welcome, welcome. Jack says you. All right, let's see. Let's see. I don't think that's going to do anything to fix this issue, but it did not. So why is that not working? Because it looks like the code, when the card starts on card drag began, when does this connect signals? So this is called enable, enable card dimmer component dot enable. We're connecting signals. That's connecting to callable drag began. On card drag began. Get on output card mouse entered. Dim card selection in. On card output mouse exited. Dim card selection out. Dim card selection in. Get cards on board. We're dimming out all the cards. Or dimming out the hovered card. And for all the other cards, we're dimming those in. So why is that not working? The drag is going to happen. Oh, but on output card mouse exited. Hovered card equals 0. Or null, I mean. Dim card selection out. So this mouse exited signal might be firing after the drag. gd.print card dimmer mouse exited. And then let's do gd.print card dimmer drag began. So it might be the case that the drag begin is happening, but then immediately after the output card mouse exited is happening. I wonder if that's the case. Let's see. I was searching for YouTube, not sure how that got in the chat. Oh, classic mistell. At least you weren't searching anything else. At least you weren't searching anything compromising. So one problem is that I wasn't paying attention. Okay. So we got card dimmer mouse exited. Oh, it's not even hooking into the... I didn't even fire the drag began at all. Dragon card base card. If not owner, get cards on board contains dragon card. Oh, is this failing here? Let me think. Owner board inventory component contains dragon card. It might be the case that I forgot how my drag works. Is it actually removing the card from the board? Maybe I can look at that. Maybe that's why it's not working. Card mouse events manager. Begin drag. Oh yeah. So the card is being removed from the board. Oh. That's not ideal. Well, that would explain that. So this check is failing, which means it's never doing any of this. Because this dragon card is not on the board. So what I actually need to do is I need to change this. So we can get the drag data. Is there a way that I can just get the drag data? Because the drag data, so I create a little object here when a card starts dragging, and this just contains a bunch of information. So what card is being dragged, what board owned the card before it got removed, what was the original position of the card on the board, what was the original position of the card visually, and what was the original parent of the card. So all that data that's being stored here is basically for restoring the card's state or position or whatever if the drag fails. So the card needs to be reparented to the original parent it had. It needs to be placed on the original spot on the board, all that good stuff, right? But the problem is it's being removed from the board while the drag is in place. So I basically need to know what the dragging card board owner is. Public board dragging card board owner. Is instance valid drag data cardboard, otherwise null. Okay. So now if I do this, so instead of checking owner board inventory component, get cards on board contains, in here, I will want to do a different check. So let's do var card mouse events manager is equal to this, get card mouse events manager, card mouse events manager, dragging card base card, var dragging board is equal to card mouse events manager, dragging cardboard owner. If dragging card equals null or dragging board is not equal to owner, and return. Maybe that will work. Maybe that will work. I hope this is an easy fix, because that would be superb if so. Okay, so that prevents the card from being dimmed that I'm dragging, but it's not dimming those out. So dim card selection in, get cards on board, hovered card dim out, other card and cards on board dim in. Okay. I probably am going to see a dimming cards out now. Make this window smaller so I can see my output. Okay, let's see. Dimming cards in, dimming cards out, dimming cards in, dimming cards in, dimming cards out. So I think it's probably related again to that mouse exited. It's setting the hovered card to null. Let's do this. Whatever, I don't need to spell it correctly. I know what that message means. g.print drag began. So I think I need to add another condition for this on output card mouse exited. I need to do a check to see if we're dragging a card right now. Bring this up so I can see it. Okay. Mouse exited, drag began, mouse exited. Yeah, so that mouse exited is being fired after the drag starts. So I think on output card mouse exited, what I need to do is I also need to check if we're dragging. If this dot get mouse events manager dot dragging card is not equal to null, or yeah, is not equal to null, then we're going to skip this. I hope that works. And then what about drag ended? On card drag ended, dim card selection. Out. I think I need to do hovered card equals null. Maybe? I don't know. I'm going to have to check that. That might be another problem. That might be another problem. But let's see. We're going to fix it. We're going to fix it. Okay, that worked properly. And then if I... Oh, yeah, maybe that works now. So I was worried that if I would drop this, that this would not get the mouse entered signal, but it seems to work. Okay, I think that's fixed now. Yeah, that looks good to me. Okay. Cool. Fix card dimmer issues. All right, that works. Cool, cool. Fix that one. Look at all these bugs I'm fixing. Okay, start node is showing as visible with highlight outline. I want to fix that as well. So this issue is, I'll show you. Let's turn this off. Go here. So if I go to a node over here, and I do this, what happens is this start node is being highlighted with that outline shader. And so the start node is a little bit special. It's technically it functions as like a visited node, meaning that it has the same notoriety penalty as a visited node. And also if you have the cloak, then it will have a notoriety penalty of 0. But I have it fixed to this icon to note that this is where you started. So it just kind of like lets the player know that, hey, I started over here. Just a useful piece of information, or it can be a useful piece of information, I guess. But I don't want it to do that highlight animation there. So highlight visitable nodes. Disable outline animation. How is this working? Set up validity. What I'm wondering is, I don't know how the visited nodes are preventing that animation from showing. I don't actually know how that's working. Or maybe it's not. Maybe they do play an outline animation when they're empty. I thought that was not the case, but let's see. Oh, these ones are highlighted. Oh, interesting. Okay, well, I guess if that's the case, then there's no problem with making the start also have a highlight animation. I guess what the highlight animation is for is it's for showing the player which nodes they can actually click on, like which nodes they can actually travel to. It's not necessarily an indicator of like, yeah, I mean, that's all that the indicator means. So these outline animations that are being played are just being played on the nodes that are immediately connected to the node that you're on. So yeah, I think I guess that's fine. Maybe that's not a bug. I had wrongly assumed that the visited nodes don't have that outline animation, but they do. So yeah, and I don't think I want to remove that for the visited nodes because I want the player to know that they can still visit cleared nodes like these. So yeah, I guess we'll just do nothing for that. I think it's probably fine. So we'll just delete this. Okay, fix that bug. Hello, Kazori. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. All right, what should we do next? So I think we need an obelisk power for new girl board event. Allow opening combat log after final boss. That one's going to be a little bit difficult, I think. But I'm thinking we could do a new card, perhaps. We could do new reagents. We could do new artifacts. I had an idea, by the way. So there are going to be more events added to the game. And I think that as I add events to the game, I think what I'm going to do is, right now I have the approach of whenever a map is generated, all of the possible events are placed on the map. But if I get to the situation where I've got like 24 different event types, I think what I'm going to do in the future when I have that state is I'm going to choose like a subset of events that can appear in the map. And so that should make every run feel somewhat different, right? So for example, let's say that I have 24 events, and during my map generation, what I do is I pick 12 of them, and only those 12 can then appear on the map. I think that would be interesting. I mean, let me know what you think. But basically the idea is that I've got this whole library of different events that can appear in a run, but then when I go to randomly generate the map, I just choose a subset of them so that every run you're kind of getting different events made available to you. And it doesn't have to be as extreme as like there's 12 different event combinations every time or whatever. It could be like there are 4 events that are randomly, you know, included or not included in the map. I think that would go a long way to increasing replayability because instead of getting every possibility every time, you get some possibilities every time. And if there are enough different events in the game, what that should do is that should make it a little bit more unpredictable in terms of how the run is going to go. Anyway, I don't know if that makes sense what I just explained, but I think that could go a long way to improving replayability and also just keeping the maps. How do I want to say this? Like, I think the map would be very busy if I have 24 different event types, and every single one of those event types appears on the map at least once. I think the map could become very busy and also kind of hard to balance because I've got to figure out a way to pack all these different types of events into a map in a way that still aids player progression. So I'm thinking if I have a library of events and I just selectively include or exclude events from each map every time the run is generated, I think that could create some interesting gameplay. Anyway, that's a future state, but if anyone has any thoughts on that, let me know. Also, if you have thoughts on what content you want to add now, I think we can obviously do a new card. I'm getting very close actually to being done. I know you have experience with the engine. I just have a little problem to solve. Like I have a tile map layer and I want to outline the tile mapped on the scene. If you have a solution to that, thanks. You want to outline a single tile? So if you want to outline, if you're trying to outline a single tile, I think that's hard to do with like a shader, like targeting a single tile. Not a single tile, but a group of tiles. Not a single tile, but a group of tiles. Yeah, honestly, I don't know. Not tile by tile, a group of tiles. Well, if the group of tiles are not in their own tile map, like if you're trying to take like a, let's say you have a 100 by 100 tile map and you want to outline a 5 by 5 region of that. I don't know if that's going to be doable with something like a shader, at least not directly on the tile map. I think what I might do is I might do something similar like what I did in Gunforge, where when I want to highlight a group of tiles, what I do is I would draw a bunch of squares over top of each tile in like the custom drawing function, put that inside of a canvas group, and then apply an outline shader to the canvas group. So it looks like you have a set of contiguous tiles that are being outlined, but what you're doing is you're just drawing a square for each tile that you want to highlight or outline, and then you're using a canvas group shader to outline that as a group. Again, I don't know like what requirements you have for the outline shader. I don't know what exactly you're trying to accomplish, but I would probably take that approach. Like just fake it, just overlay something on the tile map rather than trying to outline the tiles directly. That's the approach that I would take based on the information that you provided, but I don't know if that helps at all. So drawing over and do an outline shader. Yeah. So imagine you draw like a black square over every tile that you want to highlight. And then when you put those black squares into a canvas group, the outline shader would do an outline of all of those black squares, and then it would turn anything black to transparent. So what you're left with is you're left with just the outline and none of the black squares that you drew. That's how I did the telegraph indicators in Gunforged to create like contiguous outlined areas. Is I just drew a bunch of circles for each individual area, put those under a canvas group, and then outlined those as a group, and then made the circles transparent also in the shader. And so I just end up with an outline that kind of traces around the total, area of the circles. I do that and do that with get use cells and draw and put the chords as a param in the shader uniform to draw tiles. Yeah, I mean, you could do that, I think. Gonna head out, keep trucking with the multiplayer course. Good luck on fixing more stuff. All right, thanks, Ataxic. Welcome, thanks again for joining, and I hope to see you in the next one. How about the Cauldron card? Concerning the Cauldron card I suggested a while back, how about not having any effect on its own, but adding effects depending on the reagents surrounding it? Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I don't know if I want to do a Cauldron card right now, because that's still something I'm thinking about, like if I want reagents to be something that you can put on the board. It's an interesting idea for sure. I just don't know if I want to do that yet. So, but if you have other suggestions, I'm definitely open to it. I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break. I'm going to do my own thinking, and then when I come back, we'll figure out something to add. Again, our options are we can add artifacts, we can add reagents, we can add cards, both enemy and player cards, by the way. So yeah, let me know, and we'll go from there. So BRB in just 3 minutes. All right, I'm back. Welcome back to your favorite niche celeb. Is the enemy faction only humans? Maybe create ally fantasy creature for them? For example, I always associate griffins with humans in fantasy. No, it's not only humans. As a matter of fact, one of the bosses is an archangel. So it's not only humans. It can be creatures of mythology. It can be creatures that are like spiritual, religious creatures, those kinds of things. So yeah, a griffin or a unicorn is a good idea. I have to be honest, I'm not feeling entirely confident in my ability to draw a griffin, but we will write it down and we will maybe see if I can do that at some point. It's kind of weird, like sometimes, I don't know what it is, but sometimes I feel like I'm in the zone and I feel like I could draw something right now, and I go and draw it and it turns out great. And then other times I'm like, I'm not feeling I'm not feeling artsy today, so if I try to do this, it's not going to work. Yeah, griffin or unicorn. Just redraw the warhorse with a horn. Yeah, my art skills also limit my possibilities and ideas sometimes. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I could do it. It's just like, I can't just sit down and do it. Like, I need to have that, I don't know what that is, like that confidence or whatever. Like sometimes, sometimes I just, like, there are days where I just struggle to create anything art worthy. And then there are days where I can pop in and draw something that's pretty good in like 15 minutes. So I don't know what's the deal with that, but I'm looking for something maybe a little bit simpler to draw today. Messenger, herald, town crier, a deer, halberd, food ration, edict, golden eagle, tapestry, rosemary, spring. Your skeleton dragon is very good. I think your griffin should be doable as well. Thank you, yeah. And I think it's doable for sure. I think it's doable for sure. Plague Doctor, Rat in a Jar, Chimera. I have a Chimera written down. What other, let's see, what artifacts do we have? Monkey Paw, critical hit chance doubled, but chance to fail and damage self, heal enemy. Interesting. That could be an interesting one. Go with fox seems good, I think. May have details, but who hate foxes? Yeah, fox is a good one. How many artifacts do I have right now? Let's take a look. Let's do this. Open in File Manager. I have 18 artifacts. So an artifact is an option. The monkey paw is an interesting one. I just think from a technical standpoint, that might be a little bit difficult. I think I need to make some changes to this system, I think. So I'm consistently running into this situation where I want to be able to modify abilities at the moment of execution. And the way that I'm currently doing that is a little bit weird. I have this eye ability modifier here. This modify ability magnitude. Find all references. Find all references. Nope, that's wrong. Eye ability modifier, find all references. Wait, am I not using this anywhere? Oh, ability magnitude modifier, here we go. So I have this ability magnitude modifier, and what this does is this will do things like convert certain abilities. So for instance, convert damage to bleed. So what this ability magnitude modifier does is it says, okay, do I have an incoming damage? If so, we're gonna return bleed here and do bleed instead. Now that works in the case that I want to just return a completely new thing. So that definitely works. The problem though is that if I wanted to do something like the monkey paw here, which is going to have a chance to fail and damage self or apply the damage to self, I don't think I want to actually change this damage reference. I think what I'd rather do instead is just modify this at the point of execution somehow. So I was brainstorming with the AI an ability mutation system where I could just, like, in a very generic and framework oriented way, add lists of ability mutations and then have those mutations affect certain abilities at the point of execution without changing the reference to the ability. Because I think that's the important thing, because there are multiple places throughout the code where I'm passing abilities by reference. So in order to say, hey, did this ability execute? I will look at the turn history, for example, and I'll say, here's the damage ability. Is that damage ability the same reference as this damage ability here? So the problem is that if I'm modifying abilities by creating new references, that may create some situations where there's like subtle bugs, and that would be bad. So if I had an ability mutation system which would not change the reference of the ability fundamentally, that would solve that problem, I think. So the monkey paw is something that I've been wanting to do for a while. I think I need to create some additional features in order to support that in a way that's going to be robust and not spaghettified and not come with a bunch of risks of like hidden bugs and whatnot. So yeah, that's probably an effort best left for after the playtest. I do want to do the monkey paw, and there is a way that I can do the monkey paw as written right now. It's just I don't want to necessarily do it without adding that system that I want to add. So that's maybe that's not something to do right now. Hello, Defected. Enemy minions have turn cooldown increased by 1. Increased damage based on held currency. Cards are upgraded by an additional tier whenever... Oh, I have an artifact idea. Wait a minute. It's kind of a good idea. Cost to unlock board cell is reduced by 1. The problem is if that stacks. So imagine you get this artifact and now you can unlock board cells with just 1 residue instead of 2. That would be powerful, but if it stacks, then you would just reduce the cost to 0. So that would be a problem. Okay, well, we should probably do something. I'm just kind of like not sure. Somebody said a fox. Do I dare try to do a fox? Let's just try it, whatever. This is gonna go either really well or really poorly. So this will be an enemy faction card. I haven't created an enemy faction card in a while, so this will be good. Card statistics tool, nope, card creation tool. Fox. What should the fox say? I'm thinking about making the fox have like a sitting pose. So if I do a 1x2 card, let's see. How many 1x2 enemy cards do we have? We have 8. Okay. So yeah, we could do that. Make it cute. I'm gonna try. Let's do a 1x2 fox. Okay. Oh boy. I'm gonna make a fool of myself, but that's why you're all here, right? Okay. I've watched enough Fantastic Mr. Fox, so I hope that this goes well. I'm going to use blue here just so I can Okay, hold on. I'm gonna pull up a reference. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was way off. Let's see. So this is a little bit of a different pose than what I was going for, but this is kind of more like what I'm looking for, I think. I could do something like that too. Oh, maybe that would work. Just try to get this. I'm just gonna get this kind of like shaded somewhat in the way that I want to do it, just so I can see what that looks like. This comes out here, and then this comes down like this. Okay. Probably will need something like that. Okay, I'm gonna use blue for this. Just trying to get the general position of everything down. Now the problem is that this is over on the right-hand side. Okay. That's probably good. Let me take a look at this. Okay. Can I get away with making the feet a little bit longer? I could put the legs out in front a little bit more, maybe. So instead of this one being here, let's see. Something like that could work, and then we move this over like so, and that will leave more room over here for like a foot there. We're getting there. I'm just saying, won't be mad if you put a pig dog in there somewhere. Pig dog. It reads like a fox. That's a good thing. Yeah, I think the face is good. Like, obviously, I need to do some work here. There's just some basic shading in, but I think, and maybe move this over a little bit more. So I think like this section generally is pretty good. It's just like, what do I do with the mess of these Lovecraftian feet? Why do freaking... Imagine having 4 limbs. That's just weird. So maybe if I take this one and I move this out front a little bit more, and then I put this maybe more like this, so it's more at an angle. So I'm kind of using more of like the reference pose, something like that. And then this can come down like so. Yeah, I'm gonna need to make that look nice, obviously, but so this whole part here is a little bit wonky. And I don't really have room for a tail here, which is the problem. One thing I could do is I could move this over so it's a little bit close to the edge. And then I might have room for something like a tail here. Like a little stub at least. But then it looks kind of like the composition looks a little bit weird like that. I could take the tail and like curl it up this way. Potentially. Like so. And then fill this in. I think foxes have like bushy tails, right? So it needs to be... I probably shouldn't have drawn over that. Okay. Oops. So I can make the tail come in like this instead. Oops. Okay. What in the heck? Yeah, maybe something like that. Well, we'll see. That probably works. I'm just adding some shading now so I can see how this is generally going to look. That doesn't look right. Yeah, this whole section here is just a little bit weird to me. Okay, well, we'll figure out what to do with that. I'll just put that back, I suppose. I might be able to do something like... We'll figure out what to do with that. These dang pixels. Let's see. I wonder, can I move this head over a little bit? And then that will give me more room to do like that. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's just what I needed. That is just what I needed. I think that's good. And then this. Perfect. Okay. I still think this part is a little bit weird. But maybe if I add... So the reason I'm adding shading now is I'm just trying to see... Because it's hard to judge what it's going to look like if it's just a solid color, because you get these long stretches of like straight lines here, which look really weird if they're a solid color. But when you start adding some shading in there, now it looks a lot softer, right? Now it looks like something that's more appropriate. And like even down here. Yeah, see, I think that automatically kind of makes it a little bit nicer. I'm not sure about this here. Yeah, do something like that. Yeah, that could work. And then for the tail... Oh, the tail... Let's do this. This tail is going to have to be probably outlined, because I'm going to make it the same color. So yeah, that's going to need to be outlined, so let's do that. Okay. Hey, we're getting there. Look at that. Look at that. The placement of just a few pixels can make the world of difference. I don't think I'm going to do anything super fancy here. We'll just do that. The thing is, with the tail being right there, I'm kind of tempted to make that darker, but that's all right. Oops, I did not mean to do that. Ah! Okay. Cut that, paste that here. Okay, I think we're getting there. I think we're getting there. Okay, we do need like a nose there. Can I just use like a darker... Maybe if I just get rid of that. Maybe that'll work. I left that message on screen way too long. An S-curve tail underneath him could cover his foot. Tail needs to swoosh out in front. There we go. Okay. I was way ahead of the chat, or the chat was way ahead of me. I mean, waiting for him to see the comment. He locked... Yeah, sorry. I get into the zone and then I'm like, I don't want to stop drawing because I'm in the zone. Sorry about that. Can you do an L block for the space for the tail? Oh, I could do an L block, yeah, but I think this looks good under these because of lack of contrast. Please don't give an eye look so goofy. I think the eye is fine. Maybe darker legs like in the pic. Will the tail get a white tip? Sure, we can do that. My comments are so old and irrelevant now. They're signing up for AARP. Yeah. Sorry. Make far right pixel dark orange red for the nose, maybe. Yeah, that works. Do I want to add like a little... I actually like that. I think that looks fine. Okay. All right. We're done with the face now. There's the foxtail. Or the highlight, I mean. And then this back here, I kind of just want to do... No, that doesn't look quite right. Maybe that. I'll make the tail pointy. No, maybe not. Maybe not. I did way too much shading on the tail. I'm still not satisfied with this part over here. I think it's probably good that way. Well, how's that? Oh, that looks better. Hold on a second. How does that look? Did you place those face highlights on the tail layer? I don't think so. Oh, I was working on the tail layer just now though. I mean, I'm not gonna keep the tail layer. That was mostly just so I could do the tail in a non-destructive way. But the tail is gonna get merged as part of the final art anyway. I just fill in those black pixels with a shadow color. It's okay if it has a straight edge there, I think. Fox looks cool. Thank you, Chris. Welcome back. On the left. Can you show us what it would look like with no eye? Yeah, sure. I think it looks weird. I like the eye. I think the eye works. Maybe it could be moved over a little bit, but I think the eye is fine. Maybe flip this around. Actually, that might look better. I just flipped around the pixels. So that's one version, and then that's the other version. I think that, actually that version with the black on the left, I think that looks better. The bridge of the snout where the highlight should be lower because it's not a straight line from the top of the head to the nose. The bridge of the snout, well, there needs to be, there's a little bit of skull shape. I mean, that's intentional, right? Like, see how this curves down? It's like the forehead and then down into the snout. So the reason why that's not straight is to create that impression. But maybe if I moved the highlight, that would give that impression a little bit better. I could also just remove the highlight. Or have just one pixel for the highlight. No, that wouldn't work. Looks really nice. I like it. Yeah, I think it looks good. Foxy. Fox looks like the Fox from Fox browser. Okay, eye is definitely better. Also, moved was better. Okay, yeah, I think its position right here is good now. By the way, why do I need to see the 1 minute only channel subscribers every? I don't know. I think that's a YouTube issue. All I have is I have it set to subscribers only mode, and that's just, well, there's two reasons. One, so that you have to subscribe to me, but the other reason is that that dramatically cuts down on spam messages when it's not open to just the general public. You have to be a subscriber, so it's an extra step for the spam bots to have to do. But yeah, I don't know why, if you're already a subscriber, it wants you to do it again. That's a YouTube issue. The highlight is trying to pull that. I think so. I think the lower highlight is better. Yeah, I think so too. Because now I've got a more defined bridge here where the highlight was here before. It was kind of weird. So now, yeah, this is not a straight line, but that's because it's trying to emphasize the forehead of the fox here. And then it goes down into a straight line for the snout. I think that's okay. Hello, I did, but AI made. How many tutorials did you need to make your vision game in Godot? I mean, I didn't really learn with, like, oh, I did all these tutorials and then I could make the game. Of course, when I started making games, you know, watching little 10 or 15 minute YouTube videos all the way back in whatever that was, 2008, 2009. when I first started game development. You know, obviously watching tutorials for like Game Maker, but those were like, there were very few, if any, like comprehensive game development tutorials like on YouTube or elsewhere, because game engines, like consumer game engines, were starting to become more popular at that time, but it was still early. So when I started game dev, it was like, you know, the tool for consumers was like Game Maker, and I think Unity was maybe around that time as well, but I don't remember. But my first exposure was to Game Maker, but I learned how to make games by just piecing together all kinds of different information from different places, and also, of course, through my own experimentation and trial and error. So I can't really answer the question. I can't say, once you do this many tutorials, you can make your own game in Godot. It's like, you can make a game in Godot with very little knowledge, game development knowledge, and you can make a game in Godot with a lot of game development knowledge. There are people that know a lot about game development and can't make commercially viable games, and then there are people that, you know, they get into game making and then within a year they create a super hit on Steam. It's like, there's no pathway to being able to do that. There's no like concrete pathway. Tutorials help. They are a resource that you can use to figure out how to make a game that you want to make, but it's not going to just be like, oh, if you do X, Y, and Z, then you can make a game. It's not quite that simple. I have the same thing, Neo. If you give it a few seconds, it usually switches to chat. It's so annoying, yeah. Well, that's YouTube for you. Google is just like, they're so large and so ossified that they just keep making meaningless, useless changes that are low risk but are annoying. And what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Hyped about the new YouTube gaming thing they announced. There's gonna be so many slop games. Yeah. Today I was just drawing shapes in WebGPU for fun. HTML5 is fun. Yeah, it is. How do you understand which color to put where? I would recommend that you look at, there are a bunch of pixel art tutorials on YouTube. So those will give you a good introduction to pixel art for sure. So definitely check those out. I'd recommend that. I think this is good. What do you guys think? Is it quit while I'm ahead territory? Maybe we'll keep the tail on a separate layer just because. Or maybe not. Maybe not. Let's just merge it down. I think that this is good. It reads as a fox. It looks like a fox. And that's basically all you can ask for. Okay. I think, hold on a second. Sorry, I think this ear is a little bit weird. I think that's better. I think that's better. Okay. Now we're gonna do quit while I'm ahead. Fox. Boom. Like story-driven games. Shadow in the neck would be nice. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna say quit while I'm ahead. I actually think the fox is one of the better pieces of art that I've made, at least recently. I think it looks nice. Thank you all for your suggestions and for your help thinking through that. Anyway, fox. Okay, now the hard part is we got to figure out a ability for it. Okay, so we've got the fox. This is a 1/2 card. Let's give it a turn cooldown of 11. It is an enemy card. It is flippable. It is a minion. And we can give it maybe a 20% critical chance and a 2 critical multiplier. I don't even know what abilities it's going to have. We'll give it a minimum notoriety region of 0 and a max notoriety region of 1. Loot table weight, we'll leave that. I need to extend card statistics tool to group enemy cards by region. So I'm going to need to do that because I need to make sure that I have enough cards for each region. Phoenix was definitely better. I vote Team Phoenix. Thank you for letting us suggest. There's streamers that hate that stuff and I don't get it. Well, yeah, I mean, part of the reason why I stream is I've already mentioned this, but you know, being able to get work done that I'm going to do anyway, being able to get all of your feedback as I'm building the game kind of helps with the iteration cycles, whether it's like doing feedback on art or doing feedback on game mechanics. So instead of just like working in a silo until I release the playtest, you guys can kind of help me guide the direction of the game up to the playtest. And so that, I think, helps make the playtests get in a better state. Plus, it's just fun to hang out and chat. So, yeah, I like it. He hates our suggestions too, he just doesn't show. No, I don't hate them, but you have to understand that sometimes you may make a suggestion in the chat and I just may be like, no, I don't want to do that, right? Nothing personnel, kid. Humors us most of the time. Anyway. Okay. So we need an ability for the fox. So, yeah, put your ideas in the chat. I did give this a critical chance and a critical multiplier, so... The fox says, yeah. Think of an ability you'd like the fox to have, and I think maybe something thematic. Like a fox is kind of like sneaky, kind of tricksy, right? So it could do something. I mean, it could maybe apply bleed with a bite or something, or it could... yeah, I don't know. We're going to have to think outside the box for this one a little bit. But give me a 3-minute break. I'm going to be right back, and then we will continue on. All right, I'm back, everybody. Let's see what we can do for this fox here. The fox says that's it. Foxes eat small things, deal more damage per 1/1 card. Oh, that is an interesting thing. Link fox with stealing, so maybe make it steal something from player shield. Grants a dodge chance. Deals self-damage X number of field mice. Well, if we have a fox and we have a chicken, what can we do with that? Well, see, the enemy faction is a Kumbaya faction. You can have animals that are historical enemies, but they are uniting to fight the great evil that is coming against their land. And you are that great evil, so I hope you all feel bad as you're massacring foxes and field mice in pursuit of your insatiable lust for power. Can't believe you guys would be interested in playing this game. You're gonna go kill innocent woodland creatures just so that you can create some grotesque monstrosity, really? You guys are gonna do that? Can't believe you guys. Can we get a chicken riding a fox like an evolution? What is this, Minecraft? What is this, Minecraft? Minecraft, the game that adds useless decorative blocks and also makes things ride other things for no reason. Anyway, I'm not salty. So I like the idea of doing damage based on 1/1 cards. That is an interesting idea. Can I help you? The cat is here now. How many 1/1 cards max adjacent? Can you clarify that question? So the fox can do damage based on 1/1 cards, I guess. Let's try that. I think that should be relatively easy to do. You are so distracting, cat. My goodness. Can I help you? Here he comes. Okay. All right, so we need a query target provider. The new query target provider. What is this AI doing? Literally don't have a single query target provider in the game that looks like that. Custom filter, card definition resource dot dimensions is equal to new vector 2i. We could just do vector 2i.1. Azir, he's crawling all over my arm right now. Can you stop, please? Can you just sit? Can you just sit for a second? Thank you. So we're going to filter cards that are 1/1. And then we're going to do query target provider dot query target provider, query options, target, query target board equals true, query target provider dot query options dot query source board equals false, query target provider dot query options dot query directions is equal to board inventory component dot query directions dot entire board. Okay, so there's that. We got the dynamic damage is equal to new dynamic magnitude ability. We need a value provider. Var value provider is equal to new value scalar query target provider. We're going to do value provider in here, new damage 0. Okay. Const int base scaling is equal to 2. Var current scaling is equal to base scaling. Cute kitty cat. Your cat bothering you is a canon event for streams. Yeah, that's true. The next tutorial entity needs to be Azir. My cat is just sleeping next to me right now. I wish my cat would do that. My cat, that cat right there, who is now under a blanket, he sleeps the least of any cat I've ever met in my life. Like, I swear he's up for 16 hours a day. It's like the inverse of what cats are supposed to be. Like, cats are supposed to sleep for like 18 hours a day, and he's just like up and about all day. It's like, what are you doing? You're not a cat. What's wrong with you? He's got the most energy of any cat I've ever met. I love him though. He's a great cat. Oops. Am I still coming through? He's a great cat. He's just, the energy can be a little bit much sometimes. Okay, so we could put the query target provider in there, the dynamic damage in there. Value provider dot set multiplier. Current scaling. Okay. Var new scaling is equal to ability builder dot get damage ability scalars dot get damage scalar, and then we're going to call that with tier. Oh no, make dynamic scalar original magnitude tier. So this is base scaling tier. I guess I won't be fancy. Scalar. Actually, we can do this. Value provider dot set multiplier scalar tier. Okay. So now what we can do is we can do this. Deal value provider, oops, value provider dot get multiplier damage per, where is this custom filter function? Per, if I do query target provider dot to query string, what does that do? Let's add the fox. Deal 3 damage per enemy cards. Cannot access a disposed object. That was a little bit concerning. So deal 3 damage per to query string. Force card singular. True. And then I need the custom filter in here. Custom filter description. Deal 3 damage. I actually need to see... Query target provider dot query options dot custom filter description is equal to 1 by 1. I don't know. I don't know. I may have encountered a situation where I can't use that accurately, which is fine. I can just hard code the string, but it would be nice if I could just generate those query descriptions automatically. Let's do for each enemy 1 by 1 card. We'll just write it down. I'm not going to try to make the query to query string work there. We'll just do per 1 by 1 card. That fox looks rather handsome, I have to say. So this should basically do... Actually, it should do 3 damage to the chicken. Or 3 damage to the board because there's a chicken. I think that will work. Do we want to give the fox another ability? I think we probably should, right? Hold on a second. Okay, let's see. Is this going to deal 3 damage? Oh, it did. Oh, because that has a crit chance. Right. So the fox is actually going to do a relatively large amount of damage. Because it can crit quite frequently. And it's got a 2x critical multiplier. Cool. I dig that. Maybe something with it whimpering. It'd be kind of interesting to have a card where its turn cooldown goes down. Its turn cooldown goes down every time it takes damage or something. I don't really have a card where it can change its own cooldown, like it can accelerate its turn cooldown. That is something that I need to introduce into the game. Let me write that down. Ability ideas. Reduce turn cooldown if X ability is executed. The nice thing about this ability system is there are just so many things. There are so many different abilities that I can add, which I think is going to help a lot with the game in terms of the replay value. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying not to make too many cards that have the same abilities. Like obviously if I just have basic damage, that's going to be shared across multiple cards, but I'm trying to make it so that if I'm going to do a more complex ability, I'm trying to make it so that that ability is unique in the sense that it works differently than any other ability that's on any other card. And I think that's, I mean, we're so far doing pretty well with that. Sorry, I just got to handle this thing real quick. Almost done. Okay. So what else should we give the fox then? I think this ability is nice, but we need another one for sure. This custom filter description can go away. The fox gets max buff on a fight. He gets permanent +1 on a win. Well, this is an enemy card, so you're not really going to see that buff unless you somehow get the fox yourself. So I don't really want to do like a permanent buff for it. Do you have a burst card? Yeah, what do you mean by burst? Didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's all good. Yeah, what did you have in mind for burst? Bomb that implodes? I think it's funny that the person with the name Bomb That Implodes is thinking about burst. Like rapid fires and cools down. Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I do have cards that will exhaust themselves. So like the Phoenix will apply a massive amount of fire, but then after it goes twice, it will become exhausted. Maybe Fox could steal max HP or save that for a more fitting card. Yeah. I'm just trying to think of something interesting. I mean, we could also give it just like a basic ability too. Maybe bleed. Are there any enemy cards with bleed? We could do bleed maybe. Because I don't want to, like, the Fox already has a relatively complex ability, so I don't want to add another relatively complex ability to it. So I think just having it have, like, bleed as well, so it's like a bite attack. I think that'll be okay. Converts all damage dealt to preserve. Ooh. So now it's actually going to... Whenever a status is applied, there's a 30% chance it will be transformed into a different status. Okay. Do you have a phase out where the card is unavailable for a turn? Yeah, that's basically the paralysis. So the paralysis just stops the card from advancing its turn cooldown for as long as the paralysis lasts. If you have 1/1 cards on your board, and the fox has the ability to run away. If runaway isn't a thing, then I'm doing my job of adding scope creep. No, runaway isn't a thing. I don't know why you would want cards to leave your board. Is that working? Fox applied 3 poison to self. Oh no. Oh no. That is an unexpected interaction. So, wait a minute. This is wild. Okay, so the fox is dealing 3 damage for each enemy 1/1 card, so 3 damage, right? However, it's converting all damage dealt to preserve. Okay, so it should apply 3 shield. But then the apprentice wand kicked in and detected that as a status, and it applied poison to itself 3 times, or 2 times. It applied 6 bleed to itself, and then it applied 3 poison to itself twice. I was wondering, like, what the heck is going on? This apprentice wand is changing that shield, so the damage is being changed into shield, and then that's being changed into something else by the apprentice wand. And it happened 3 times in a row, which makes me think that maybe that is not correct. No, that is right. Interesting. So I basically just got. That is interesting. I wonder if I should change this to... No, maybe... Huh. That was a little bit unexpected. I just want to see it work normally. Okay, it applied 6 preserve. Good. but then it applied fire to itself. Why is that happening so much? 30% is not that much. The fox keeps applying negative effects to itself. Okay, well, interesting. I might keep that. I mean, that is an unexpected. So what's happening is I wasn't accounting for self applications. So whenever I apply a status to myself, like shield, it's transforming it into like a bleed applied to self sometimes. That's kind of funny. Fox has an ability to make them run away. No, it would not take effects from anything. It doesn't exist. Oh, I see. Oh, I see. So like a phase out is, it acts as if it's not on the board anymore. It's supposed to say make them run away, and aka they scare your stuff away. Apprentice Wand may have turned your shield into poison. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I was thinking the fox could bury and pop out another turn. Yeah, that is an interesting concept. The thing about this game is I don't know how useful that would be though, because it's not that the cards have individual healths, you know? So like what would be the advantage of like having one of your cards phase out, right? Like it would just maybe reduce the power of the enemy board for a little bit because it's no longer being counted as like, you know, a minion or whatever. But the thing with like the enemy encounters is that this game is not so much about planning your build against specific enemy encounters. It's more about planning your build generally speaking. And so having those kind of niche abilities that could only work against certain encounters is really hard to plan for in this game. It's really hard to manage or actually accomplish. So I'm trying to think if there would be a way that phase out could work differently, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. But if you have any ideas on how that could be useful, I'm open to that suggestion. Do you have any cards that block where you can place? No, I don't. Because again, like once the combat starts as an auto battler, so it's not turn-based where like you've got grids and you're playing your cards. It's like once you start the combat, the grids are locked in place. So preventing something from being placed somewhere wouldn't really do anything, at least during combat. Now, maybe I could have a card that, like, quote-unquote, takes up more space than is visual, so it, like, locks cells you can't place those next to it. But at that point, I might as well just make it a 2x2 card or whatever. You know what I mean? Doesn't make sense to add a runaway just for that. You'll never run away yourself. Yeah. Disappearing cards could also be harmful to the player if other cards scale with them. Right, yeah. Could project a heal onto adjacent cards when buried or something to offset it not being on the board. Yeah, that could work. I don't know. It's something that I'll have to think about for sure. I just don't see how that could immediately add strategic value to the game, but like I said, I'm open to the idea. Just have to find a good use case for it, that's all. Are the fox's abilities already decided? Yeah, basically. Deal 3 damage for each enemy, or it's 2 damage, but this is upgraded by 1 tier. Oh, that's kind of interesting. That is an unintended consequence of my card animation. I can animate this up here, but that's fine. I don't care. We'll leave it. Deal 3 damage for each enemy 1 by 1 card. Apply. Yeah, so it's applying 2 bleed at base and dealing 2 damage for each enemy 1 by 1 card. Which actually is great, because if the player is still being incentivized to use a bunch of small cards, the fox will be kind of a counter to that. Anyway, I think I'm happy with the... I think I'm happy with the fox's abilities. I think it's good. It's an enemy card. Let me just see... I want to see if I can actually identify a combat where that fox is being placed. I like it a hunter. Yeah. I forgot whose suggestion it was to do it based on 1 by 1 cards. Oh, there's a fox there. There's another fox. There's another fox. And then the fox can appear in this region as well. There's one. Cool. All right. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. So I think we'll call that done. I do need to add flavor text for it, though. Okay. Cool. Jackie, I think, or Jack. Oh, yeah, Jack. I think it was Jack. Let's see. Yeah, it was Jack. So good suggestion. Your idea made it into the game, for now at least. But yeah, that's it for the stream. I'm going to go eat some lunch. We also have a major winter storm coming, so I'll probably need to go to the store and make sure I have food, because gotta eat, you know? So anyway, thanks again everyone for watching. Thank you for being here. Again, you can wishlist Alka Mortis on Steam if you're interested. So definitely check that out. I would appreciate it. The playtest will be happening in a week. So if you want to get early access to the playtest when it comes out, you need to be a subscriber to Patreon. If you're not a subscriber to the Patreon, then the public playtest will be available to you for a week, or the week after the early access period. So again, there's no FOMO here. Everyone will have an opportunity to play the playtest. It's just that the Patreon members will be able to play it 1 week earlier than everyone else. So we're almost there. We're almost to the next playtest. I'm getting the bugs fixed. I'm getting all the sound effects and new music in. So I'm hoping that you enjoy it. It's going to have all these alchemy changes. It's got the board unlock changes. It's got a bunch of different cards, new artifacts, all that good stuff, new reagents. So yeah, we'll see what you guys think of it. But anyway, that's it for the stream today. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.